Oh,
Okay.
before you do that, can I say something to Amy?
Amy's not in the room yet, or I don't know if she'll be here. She had clients this morning.
Oh, I was going to tell her thank you for what she wrote this morning, because it struck me so oddly magical that, you know, I struggle with my self-esteem, and yesterday, I finally put that mask on, you know, and then this morning she wrote what she wrote about Venus being in Taurus and moving towards, greater depths of our self-value. And I was just like, okay, my mind is blown.
That's awesome. Good. We're all celebrating you. That's incredible. I'm glad that resonated with you. It was a cool post to read for sure. There's magic in Guidely community. We're happy to have all of you here and to welcome you to this event that we've been so excited for. Joanne, would you like to tell us a little bit about what we're in for today?
Yes, but first, I have an introductory quote from a guy named Joseph Campbell. He inspired a few things, including the entire Star Wars franchise. This is a place where you can simply experience and bring forth what you are and what you might be. This is the place of creative incubation. At first, you may find that nothing happens here, but if you have a sacred place and use it, something will eventually happen. So be patient with your process. Yay. So in this workshop, we're going to talk about some of the spiritual and meditative uses of sacred spaces. Some people call them personal altars. I'll tell you why I chose sacred space instead later. It's not tied to any particular religious tradition. That's not required. It's whatever you choose it to be. Your relationship to spirit is your own, and everybody can have a direct line to whatever it is whenever they are ready to pause. I'd also like to take this opportunity, especially for anybody here who's not already in the Guidely community. This is the best and most supportive social community I have ever seen. And I've been in a lot of them over the last 30 years, I think. I joined Facebook in 2008. So I really, you can participate as much or as little as you like, but there will always be supportive people here. So I just wanted to give that plug before we go further. And the next thing I'd like to do, since we have just a handful of people here, is to ask people to introduce themselves. And you can say something about your sacred space or just say what your name is. And I'd just like to know before we get going any further. We've got someone new. Oh, awesome. So let's start with you, Hannah. You can set it off for people who don't know you.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much for that introduction, Joanne. My name is Hannah. I'm the community manager with Guidely. And today I'm actually in my own home sacred space, as I figured this would be the best place to take this call from. So I have my little altar here and a little color coordinated bookshelf back there. I've got some plants above me, and I have two pups in the room too. So I will be on mute most of the time because they are rather unpredictable. But yeah, I'm so happy to be here. And if anyone has any questions about the community at all, please send me a message either here in the chat, or my email is hannah@guidely.com, and also always available in the community. It's a real pleasure to connect with y'all here. I'm gonna popcorn over to
There we go. To me, you cut out.
Well, I think she just muted herself kind of when she was getting done talking, possibly. I can hear you fine, Tabs.
Oh, okay. My name is my Christian name is Thomas. Tabs came about because I'm a deeply empathic starseed child and I'm a witch. And I was given Tabitha by Gaia, Hecate, and Bridget, but I also loved Tabitha from Bewitched. And I know I'm showing my age, but my gray hair does that just fine. I have a sacred space that I have some artificial flowers. And for those of you who know that John was my life partner of 11 years, I have a couple of pictures of the beloved mother. Well, I have a picture of Mary and I have a picture of Fatima to honor John's memory. He wasn't practicing, but he was born and raised Catholic. And when we were together, he had his altar with his saints and his candles, and he would put food out for his mother and taught me a lot about ancestors and honoring them and respecting them. So I have my / altar to John and altar to Gaia, and my witch practice kind of combined to honor and revere both of them. And Hannah mentioned having some plants. I'm trying my hand at growing a cactus, but unfortunately it won't fit on my altar in my sacred space. So I have it in another section of the room. But and then I have this bookshelf that I'm trying to grow bamboo, and I have my 2 guardian gnomes, Hannah and Bilbo, male and female gnomes.
Okay.
And my crystal energy healing grid. On Friday nights, I send out angelic Reiki healing energies to whoever may need them, and I have a specific list also. So that's
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Tabs. We got a good rundown of all the wonderful symbols that Tabs is using. And let's see, who's on my screen. The next person is Jamie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie. I'm really excited to spend the next hour or so with you all. I am living on my own for the first time, or living by myself, I should say, for the first time in a very long time. And setting up my space initially, I was looking at it through a very practical, necessary lens. Like, what do I need to be able to function in this space, right? And over the past couple months, as I've settled into that space, I've been looking for ways to make it a little bit more intentional, make it feel a little bit more dedicated to me and where I, want to evolve and develop. So I'm hoping to gain some wisdom and insight on how to continue to do that today.
Okay, fun. Yeah, the nice thing about having lots of people is that we have lots of cultural and religious and spiritual traditions, and you can find out about things that you never heard of. Like, I grew up with rosaries, but I realized there's all kinds of other prayer beads around that I had no concept of. So there are that many humans. There are a few billion humans, okay, and there are that many different things that we get excited about, colors and shapes and materials and everything else. The next one on the screen for me is Will. Let's find out a little bit more about you.
Yeah, hey y'all.
Y'all.
Yeah, my family's from Texas, so got a little bit. I don't have the accent, but a little bit of the verbiage is Southern. I just graduated college and started working at Guidely, so just did a pretty big move from California to Phoenix. So I've kind of been thinking a lot about this because I had a sacred space set up pretty consistently, but it was my old house. It was like the whole thing was a 4-bedroom that was total 1,000 square feet. So the rooms were tiny. I had like just like the smallest corner for it. So I was able to expand a little bit. So I'm super happy this came up now, because I've been thinking a lot about like kind of what do I want to
Awesome.
change? What do I want to keep? I've got kind of just a series of progressively smaller Buddhas, some incense, and
Ooh,
tarot deck. So that's kind of the extent of it right now. But yeah, excited to learn some more things to add.
thanks, Will. Shannon?
Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm co-founder of Guidely. So excited to join Joanne's workshop. In a way, you're all in my sacred space right now. This feels really exciting. And I do have some artifacts here on the bookshelf behind me in the studio. I have a statue I got of Lakshmi. I woke up a few years ago from a dream. Like it was summer, I remember, and I had been running through this field and I woke up with the word of her, the goddess's name in my mouth. So I reached out to the only Hindu friend I had and I said, tell me what this means. And he said, abundance, good fortune, prosperity. And so she's been one of my totems. At home, I have two different spaces and I'm realizing how scattered my energy is there. At home, I have an art table. Just for play and creative play. I love pushing paint around. That's really what I say, because it's for the process, not the outcome. And then I have my own a different space where I've got my runes and my cards and my crystals. But I feel like I'm recognizing even just in this talk that I've split my energy there, and that they need to come together in order to really integrate two parts of me. So I'm already learning and excited, and thanks for creating this space, Joanne.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think that one of the things about coming in with a group is exactly this, that we suddenly realize that the things we're using to embody in the world our spiritual self are scattered around as if they were just on the bookshelf or something like that. And they don't have, everything's got a mundane use. A scarf is a scarf. A stone is a stone, but we are the ones who make them sacred. We have that power and we've used it for thousands of years. So it's good to see people looking for new things, looking for expansion, well, or pulling things together, Shannon. So that's cool. So Jessica, my friend, how's your sacred space?
Well, I was just thinking about it, listening to everyone. I've also moved recently and moved half a dozen times in the last few years, and just recently moved in with my partner. So kind of integrating myself into his space. So I was trying to think last night about what I need to do with my quilting room. And I have one object in my quilting room that I guess I would consider my totem, my swan. Maybe I'll move around to show it to you guys. And I was thinking, like, my books that are around me are my sacred objects. So yeah, I don't really have a sacred space. My backyard might be my sacred space too.
That's okay too. Outside is awesome. Yeah, but you can have your own grove, and you might even see fairies if you're really
right. Yeah, there's deer back there. So that's
cool. Ooh, cool. Wildlife is awesome. I live in a little tiny town in Oregon. We have lots of wildlife. We can hear the elk every once in a while. They don't come into town though. Thank goodness. Devin, how's your sacred space?
Hello, Joanne, you're doing such a beautiful job of leading this group so far, so thank you. I actually just recently moved into a space with a partner as well. He also has a young kiddo. We are creating the space together. It's a new apartment for both of us. And I'm really seeking a location that I can kind of be still and have some of my artifacts. Very interested in learning more about how to use like a mala or prayer beads, and really finding like a version of the Bible that I think I can really, lean into and learn more from, since that's sort of my book. So
right,
yeah.
I understand. Yep, absolutely. That sounds awesome. Thanks, Devin.
Yeah.
How about you, Carol? I need you to unmute yourself so we can hear you. There you go. Awesome.
about that. So
Looks
good
like she's got easels in the background there.
I do. I do. I paint. So
Oh, wow.
I always have some project going. But yeah, I have so many sacred spaces all through my house because it's just, it's almost subconscious. It's almost, you know, like when I'm putting a little space together, it just turns into an altar space. So like I'm in my office working from home, I'm having car issues. So this is like my studio, my office, my workspace, my paint space. And I've got an altar behind me that is dedicated to my ancestors, my grandmothers, my mother. So, and I've got like, you know, pictures of them and, you know, goddess figurines. And then right next to me, to my right is, it's a sacred space with kind of dedicated to Kuan Yin, the Virgin Mary, and I collect these, the goddess stones. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah, they're
oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, and you know, these are goddess stones, and you know, nature makes them, and they're like, and so all of my collected goddess stones are sitting here. When I was about 13 years old, I had an encounter on my wall, and I remember it was like my room was really dark, and this white light just showed up on my wall, and I was 13. I got really scared. I screamed. My mom came down. She saw it, and the instant she opened the door, it went away. And later in the year, and it took my mom a long time to convince me that this was a really good thing that happened. And then, yeah, and then later, years and years later, I was in Santa Barbara with a group and taking them through the mission in Santa Barbara. And in the store, I saw these Virgin Mary cards, and there was this one card, and I don't know what came over me, but I just burst into tears and I was crying, and I bought the whole box, you know, and the nun in there was like, "Are you okay?" But what I realized was that was my connection to what happened when I was 13. So I commemorate that with this sacred space that I have, you know, and then all throughout my house. But I'm really looking forward to learning something new from you. And then I probably will go through my house this weekend and change everything around and get more energy, and just because it's all been sitting for a while, you know.
Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow, it sounds like we have a lot of things in common with this group. People physically moving around, so their space is part of their main focus right now. I see that several of you are in my children's age group, and so you have very active, different kinds of lives than I do. Staying in one place, hopefully, for the rest of my life here in this beautiful spot, and so let's see if we can kind of reach out and explore beyond the virgins and beyond. I mean, virgin's cool, but there are so many different things. There are so many different things that I even get overwhelmed and go, I can't learn more about crystals or whatever it is. Sometimes you have to decide, this is what I'm doing. But the other thing is, sometimes we get so focused on objects and arrangement that we forget about process. So process is really important. It's the kinds of things you do and the kinds of things you don't do, like sitting still, that are important, because the space is supposed to be there for you to connect to something that you can't see or feel or hear. So that's the main thing I learned from building this workshop a long time ago. The first thing I'm going to do, though, I don't know if anybody else wants to, I know this is not the best sort of cool aesthetic, but I'm going to light this candle over here. I already have one lit. And this is my main altar back here. It's and I'll pick up some stuff from it in a little while. We'll see how this works, but I'm not in the same actual room with people. Me, oh, that's right, me. I was raised Catholic. I'm very familiar with the Virgin. I have a little ring that I don't wear anymore, but I wore it a whole lot when I was a child, and I still have it. And but I decided after Star Wars that there was more, and my science fiction reading, that there was more to the universe than just the religious background I'd grown up with. That doesn't mean I'm discounting it. I just went beyond it to look around some more. So I sort of found what they call the New Age was something called the Celestine Prophecy back in the 90s. And then I read Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh and got the idea that we have this neat connection we can have with spirit all the time if we want to. And I've done soul retrieval kind of work and past life regressions. And right now I'm really into, I've always been into mythological symbolism. So I obviously got drawn to tarot cards and oracle cards because they celebrate those kinds of connections. I see you, Tabs, but I need to do something first. But one thing I will do is that, you know, if you want to ask questions as we go along, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to save it until the end, but I also want to keep track of time at the same time. So hang on, Tabs. The first question I have for everybody is, what is sacred space for you? And you've already given me some ideas. It has to do with creativity. It has to do with connecting with spirit, it has to do with being quiet. It has to do with having your favorite objects around you. And I think, I'm hoping that whatever you end up with when you leave here, when you leave this workshop, will help you to rediscover a sense of wonder and awe in a certain part of your home, and be able to sit there and disconnect from all the regrets of your past and the worries that you might have about the future. Because I hope it's going to be a quiet space, although if you like music, that's a good thing to have in your space too. I think it's a good place to celebrate all of your senses, because it's a place where we're embodying who we are in spirit into the world. So Tabs, what's your question? Or did you mean to raise your hand? You have to unmute yourself first.
Oh, it wasn't so much a question as it was chiming in on what you said. I was born and raised Mormon, and then I gravitated to mainstream Christianity, you know, but I remember seeing Billy Jack as a child, and the spirituality in that movie, you know, the native connection resonated with me so strong, and I never knew why until about 2 years ago. I was told I was Native American in another life, and it was like, oh, okay. But yeah, you know, my Christian upbringing, it was like, no, there's got to be more to this, you know, than what they told me. So I totally resonate with what you said.
Oh, thank you.
Being
Appreciate
raised,
it, Tabs.
yeah.
Awesome. Before we go any further though, I want to make sure that everybody has the resource booklet and the worksheet. So like physically raise your hand if you have it available to you or not. Everybody got something? Because I would like people, I mean, it's up to you if you're the kind of write this down person or I'll remember forever person. Doesn't matter what your learning style is, but I like to provide that as the worksheet as a resource, because you could put, for instance, a few little words about what your purpose of your work, of your sacred space is, for instance. But the resource booklet, that's going to save us from being here for 3 hours because it's got lots of different objects and ideas for putting into your sacred space. So, you know, if for some reason you lose it or you don't have access to it, just let us know or let me know in the Guidely community, and I'll make sure you get that. So it looked like everybody had access to that, so that's cool. Oh, I was going to tell you about the altar thing. I used to call this a personal altar workshop. Okay. And then I looked up the history of altars, and it seemed to be a place where lots of things died. So I decided that maybe that wasn't the most positive way to look at our sacred spaces. So I like sacred space better. We can move into we can stay in the 21st century instead of, you know, back in 1200 BC or something. Oh, I've always been curious about why people started sacred spaces. And I'm thinking that some of it had to do with not being able to explain things like the stars in the sky. Or even the concept of what's this thing called fire? I can see humans trying to figure out all these things and being awed, and therefore seeing that there was something that they might call sacred when they came up with enough language to describe it. Oh, and you know, all of your personal sacred spaces, that's the way it always was. The idea of going into a public building and gathering with a bunch of people in there for your sacred space is something actually relatively new. As Shannon pointed out, she's gotten connected to Lakshmi. And in the Hindu religion, the household shrine is everywhere. And people bring the gods into their own personal world. And in the West, it hasn't been quite the same sort of tradition. We've wanted to gather together in public spaces to be taught by the priest or whatever. So I thought that was interesting. And I'm liking the idea that people are going back to having their own sacred spaces in their own homes. So what do you think makes it sacred? I'd like to get a couple of ideas from people. What's the difference between something that's mundane and something that's sacred to you? Go ahead, Tabs.
Well, again, for me, the difference between sacred and spirituality and religion, you know, is religion is what I was taught. Spirituality and my sacred space is what I live, and what it's defines me. It's my core.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that I like the idea of having your own space in your own home, is that it is a personal thing to everyone who chooses that. So you can bring together, as Shannon was saying, aspects of yourself in one place. You can use a sacred space for your own healing purposes, because in addition to whatever you get from the doctor's office, the attitude you take and the healing that you do psychologically is going to be just as important, I think, as the medicines that you get. But you want to do both, obviously. Sacred spaces are great for personal transitions, like moving to a new spot, or giving birth, or getting married, or moving in with your boyfriend, etc. So those are all the opportunities to create a sacred space for yourself to adjust to whatever the new things are that are happening in your life. And Carol talked about ancestors and also descendants. Sacred spaces have always been used to keep us connected to those who are not with us, whether it's in this world or not in this world. So you can think about those kinds of aspects when you put your sacred space together. Do you have relatives or friends that you want to give special attention to? And then there's manifestation. Ooh. We can do the whole law of attraction thing and do our visioning in our sacred space and manifest for ourselves the attitudes that we need inside to make what we want to have happen outside. So there are lots of things that we can use this for. And the one that I really like to use it for the most is what I call transcendence. I have a little trouble connecting to that, all that is, okay? Believe it or not, my brain gets in the way. And my sacred space is my best place to, okay, shut up inside. Feel everything. Hug the earth. Then I know, I feel the energy inside of me. I feel it in my hands. I feel it in my body. And then I know I'm there. And then I start automatic writing. So, but I have to do this consciously because otherwise my brain goes off in 1,000 million directions. So I like to use it for transcendence. It keeps me connected with what I consider to be spirit, I guess. So then, oh, now we get into the nitty gritty. Oh, good. And we have, wait a minute, we got chat. I'm not used to this. Oh, yeah. Specialness of something mundane feels like it can be disregarded or forgotten. Ah, true. We keep and we hold on to the things that really count. Yeah, connecting. We got a couple of Team Guidely named people here, so I don't know if that was Jamie or the other one. Sacred space for me is where I do my work, meditate, light candles, do my divination. Talk to that part of me that is light. My brain as well, yes. I can see that. Tabs and I have a certain kind of connection, I can tell already. Oh my God. Themes. So we can have themes. I would love to hear if anybody has a theme in mind already. We can have certain kinds of the elements of the earth, for instance, that are in the resource guide. We can have mythologies as a theme. We can have fairies as a theme. We can, does anybody have like an idea of what they're really attached to theme wise? If you raise your hand, we can unmute you and you can talk. Oh, we're getting, oh, go ahead, Carol.
I'm trying to figure out how to raise my hand with an.
Oh, I see. It's in something called, yeah, you can raise, because we have a small group, we can do it that way. Tabs is raising his hand by using the reactions button at the bottom. Okay, go ahead.
So the theme that I've been playing around with in my head, and I'm really excited about and listening to you, is sacred geometry. And you know, and so what I'd like to do is take string and do a Merkaba through my house and make the whole thing an altar space. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like
oh yeah, that's crazy good. Yeah.
Crystals, and I have it going on up in my attic that I did years ago. So like I'll take string and I'll either tape it down or I'll pin it and then, do my lines so I know where my crystals are going to go. So but you can do it on a smaller scale, but that's kind of what I'm considering.
Okie dokie. That's actually a very good overall of somebody who's got a theme in mind. Obviously, we can be as eclectic as we want. What have I got? I have oracle cards, tarot cards, a rune, animal totem stones, a moon oracle. So you can go in lots of different directions. I know that Tabs has a thing for the he's got images of the Virgin in his house. And go ahead, Tabs, if you wanted to tell us more about your themes.
But I also have a statue of Gaia. She her belly, she's pregnant, her belly is the earth. And
cool.
I also have a couple of rosaries, again, in honor of John and his memory. And then I have a purple squared tapestry that is the triple goddess symbol. I want to get it and I always butcher this, the triquarter, the Celtic knot,
Okay, I got you.
the symbol on the book in the Book of Shadows in Charmed.
Mhm.
I want it on my left shoulder blade in purple.
Oh, that's right. I hadn't thought about putting things on our bodies. I'm not a tattoo kind of person, but that's an interesting idea, especially for younger people. I know my daughter has a tattoo of the Scorpio symbol on her shoulder, on the back of her shoulder. So you can actually, I mean, that's a pretty big commitment to a particular symbol, but using a tattoo, but that's another way of looking at bringing the sacred into ourselves, if you think about it.
That tattoo represents me and John.
See, there you go. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great idea, Tabs. The other kinds of, well, let's see, Carol already talked about ancestral kinds of ideas. Does anybody else have a particular theme that they want to follow in their sacred space? Looking for ideas. I can see you guys are looking for ideas. Okay. Don't forget about rites of passage, especially for the younger people. If you choose to get formal with a mate, like marrying the person or having children, you'll find that these kinds of rites of passage are great ideas for redecorating your sacred space for a temporary period of time, for instance, or adding something from a celebration event that you have had in your own life. It doesn't always have to be about communal symbols like gods and goddesses or things like that. It is really meant to be quite personal. I got to think about whether I have something like that on mine or not. I think the most personal, the two most personal things I have are, because I have a best friend here. I haven't had very many best friends in my life because I grew up in the military, okay? So I was always new kid on the block. But now that I'm here, I have a best friend, and she's not a gnome, but she's the person who makes the gnomes. And this is my wizard gnome. She's the most creative individual I have ever seen in my entire life. She will make something out of almost anything, and it will always be beautiful. I'm sorry she couldn't come today. She got sick, so just temporary, but she was going to come. And I bought this at a local fair here, and it's not a stone, it's glass. And the glass blower makes these beautiful things. It looks like the whole universe in one little place. So those are kind of personal things that I've added to my altar space that are different from the usual sorts of stuff. So don't forget about adding those kinds of things. Now let's move on to real quick to location. Now Tabs already mentioned something about, I think, no, was it him or was it somebody else? About being outside, because you can have a shrine or a sacred space out in your garden. Like I said, who knows? There might be fairies there. If you make a nice place, they might come. So gardens, you can even have a sacred place in your cubicle office. Although if you put a whole bunch of pentacles strung across your entire partition, it might upset some people. So in a more public space like that, you probably want to be a little more subtle, but you can still have it because you can still have things that remind you of your connection, even when you're working. And I know several of you are in Team Guidely, and it looks like you have a nice, I think that's the building I'm looking at here. So, and that looks pretty cool, but you could dress it up a little bit, I would think, especially working for Shannon and Amir. I hope so. It could be your garage band place. Maybe your musical instruments are your sacred stuff. There are so many possibilities. Let's see. You can have it visible from your bed. I don't do that. Mine is actually visible from my office, which is in the garret. It's the attic. That's why my ceiling wall looks funny. And that's astrology behind me. But I've got two windows so the air can go straight through. which is what my vision was a long time ago before I moved here, to be in a house where the air could go through from one side to the other. And here I am. So, oh, also, if you've probably heard of feng shui, possibly, and I use it in the rest of my house. Like Carol was saying about making her entire house into sacred geometry. There's already the feng shui way of setting up your house for energetic flow and balance, if you want to look into that. And I use it to make decisions about where to put things like mirrors and an object that is a part of the Jewish tradition called a mezuzah. You have a little bag, a little thing at the front door with a specific message in it about inviting God in, or that God is worshipped in this house. And I expanded that into my sort of new age space, and I have mezuzahs at every door inside the house as well. And they have little sayings in them, and I have a little stone for each bag. So that was my thing that I made up by myself. And if you're interested, oh yeah, there's let me write this in. On keyboard. Where did it go? Come on. I accidentally re-scrolled. So this is the feng shui book that I used, but there are lots of different ones that you can try out. There's also a book called The Flow Doctor, and I don't have the author, but I'm sure you can find it over on Amazon, that talks about enhancing the flow of energy through your physical space. Okay. So at this point, one of the reasons for your worksheet is to write down maybe some ideas about where you want to have your space. Go ahead, Hannah.
I was just going to say, for the folks catching the replay, the author of the book that you just shared in the chat is Zai-Hong Shen. So it's called Feng Shui by Zai-Hong Shen. And then the other book is The Flow Doctor. So just for anyone who's on the replay.
Oh, because the chat's not going to be saved. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize
all
that.
of our beautiful faces, but
yeah, got it. Okay. Thank you very much for that.
Absolutely.
So Carol, I know, wanted to do something for her entire house. So, but what are your favorite symbolic objects? Start thinking about the ones that work best for you. Shannon had an actual vision experience to show her the ones that she was interested in. And I think other people have similar kind of things going on. Go ahead, Devin, what was your idea?
I actually just had a question about the just choosing the space. I wondered if you had any tips on, like, do you go just based off intuition, like where you feel most connected in the home, or do you try to have like a door shut? So like you can like shut a door between your sacred space and the rest of the home. Like, what are your, just a quick tip on?
Right, that's a good idea. That's a good question. I don't think in terms of shutting off really, because again, with the feng shui thing, I kind of would rather have the energy flowing through my entire space in a certain way, and I think that would enhance the space I have. But there is something to be said for it being a private space. I feel more comfortable having my table up here in my attic office, where there's nothing but me and my desk and everything, and the rest of the home is downstairs. So I wouldn't put it in the TV room, for example. So those are practical aspects, but otherwise I think I sort of go with intuition, particularly about what I choose in terms of like this table that I put it on. I got it specially. I picked it out at a church yard sale. It just spoke to me. It had cool aspects to it that made me want to take it. So I guess it is intuition in terms of more the objects, and maybe more practical in terms of picking the space to make it private, but I'm not sure I would leave the door shut.
Awesome. That helps. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, that's right. So the resource book has like tons and tons of different objects. So I'm not going to go through all of them individually, obviously. But one of the things that I like is because a lot of objects are solid, like these shells. I wrote a poem about a shell because if you think about it, think about the vulnerability of that creature inside. And it's got this armor on the outside. And then a lot of the meanings of objects are basically common sense, actually. And then colors that have to do with all these stones. I'm still trying to figure out crystals and stones. There are just too many of them. But those are hard objects. What I like to do is balance out the hard with the soft. So I use a lot of fabric that I drape across my altar, and I like to keep it in line with the elements. So I change them out at the time that the astrological sun sign changes, about the 3rd week of the month. And I will have the last sun sign and the first and the next sun sign together, and I will have a scarf for each one. If it's a fire sign or an earth sign, green. So, or water sign, blue, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know, it just feels right to me to have curves in my space and not just sort of square or hard objects. I think that's because I'm a Pisces sun sign, and so I like soft things. You can also have there are icons of divinity in every religion that you can use. For some reason, recently, I have been gifted with Buddhas. Above and beyond the call of duty, I have new Buddhas that people have given to me. I'll show you the latest one. I got to clean this guy up, but he's something else. And this is, of course, the traditional quote, happy Buddha, abundance Buddha, the one with the smiling face and no hair. And my friend who couldn't come to the workshop, she gave me this. She gave me the kit. And it's like a Zen garden, and it comes with a little rake and everything. So you can make your own little stone garden with the little Buddha in there. I thought that was cool. But you can go anywhere from Kuan Yin to, if you want to get really into the duality of the universe, you can choose Shiva, who is and Vishnu, who are the gods of creation and destruction, because destruction is obviously required for creation to reoccur. Even stars and galaxies, which are my favorites. Tabs, what you got?
Trying to unmute myself.
Oh, you got it. I can hear you.
I think it was Shannon that was asking. When I lived in Fort Worth with John, there was a metaphysical shop that we could actually go to. And for me, my crystals, my pendulum, my oracle cards, the space in my house, if this makes any sense to you, Shannon, it has to speak to me. You know, I have to hold it and pick it up. And now that I have to buy my stuff online, it's really difficult for me, you know, because I can't hold it. I can't walk into the shop and have it call my name, you know.
Right.
But for me, Shannon, if it helps you any, you know, it's that area that speaks to you, that resonates with you, that calls you, you know. You walk into that area of the house and you'll know, okay, this is it. If that helps you any.
Cool. Thank you very much, Tabs. Somebody, Hannah. So tell me just a little tiny bit about what Vastu Shastra is.
It reminds me of feng shui a bit, and it takes in the directions, and it also takes in kind of like color psychology and the placement of items in your home. So it's something that Nick has referenced since he's been refinishing this home. I moved in about a year ago, and a lot has happened since then, but it's something that he's kind of carried with him in the whole remodel of this home. I wanted to say something when you were talking about kind of that destruction is necessary for creation to happen. It sparked something inside of me that was really curious about what folks' sacred spaces look like right now. And, if they'd be willing to share a before and after picture in the group with us, like here's what it looked like before and here's what it looked like after, or, maybe it was nothing before and, they created something out of it. So yeah, I would love to pose that to the folks here and anyone who's watching the replay to, before and after photos in the Sacred Space Creatives group, because it'd be so cool to see, to have a little peek into at least one sacred space in your home. And then if there's anything that has that has a story to tell, right? I can pick this up here because I know that one person in this room will recognize it. So Carol gifted me this, and it's a little wish jar. And it probably is the most sentimental thing that I have on this table. And it's just something that, that has a story to tell. So if you have anything like that, I would love to hear the story and see the photos in the group. I think that'd be a really cool way to continue this conversation.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the magical things about having the group to go to after we're done with any kind of event like this, which is obviously limited by time, is to be able to continue to share. And before and after pictures are always fun. I want to paint my walls, so I'll let you know when I get that done. My walls and my ceiling. I was told by a color expert that even though most people paint their ceiling different color, up here, I should probably just do the whole thing. What do you think about lavender? Maybe not too bright, but I would like to have a brighter option than my universe behind me. But that was a gift from my daughter, so it's special too. Yeah, lots of times the gifts help to, hey, have you ever thought about doing food in your space? Anybody into food? People have been using food offerings to the gods for years and years, right?
I've used cinnamon. Years ago, I was working with cinnamon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's a good idea. Like herbs and spices would be easy and would last. That's awesome. Or for a special event or something, you could actually put real food in your space, meditate on the meaning of that, and then take it away or eat it there.
I often sit with, I'll make a cacao drink and I'll sit at my altar with a cacao drink. And it's a beautiful practice that I enjoy quite a bit.
Yeah, and I grew up in Japan and for the first 13 years of my life. So ancestral boxes were very common. My brother still has his ancestral box and he'll put food.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea too. I didn't even know about that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, every Japanese family has an ancestral box. It's like,
makes sense.
Goes without saying, yeah.
Right. The other thing is, don't forget your ears. Music. If you have a singing bowl or canvas drum or invocations, don't forget that words have power. And they have more power than we think they do. According to Genesis, it was words that created the entire universe. So saying we may or may not be into the idea of prayer as a thing, but invocations of any sort are going to be powerful things because they will wrap around and go back inside of you as you speak them out loud. For some reason, when people speak things out loud, it makes a difference. And you know, I mean, I know I've been inspired by people speaking out loud in various contexts or singing a song that meant a lot to me. And so you can inspire yourself in your own sacred space by speaking out your affirmations rather than just reading them silently, for instance. So space is not just a static thing. It is a place of movement and growth and transcendence. You can also celebrate your holidays. I change out my altar for, I have gnomes, thanks to my friend, for Easter, Christmas, and any other holiday you can think of. So this is one of the things I like about it is at the end of every lunar month on the new moon, I change the whole thing up. And I mean, you might want to keep things the same, and that's okay too, but I really like it being a constantly growing and changing space for me. And I think sometimes people forget, don't use it as much. They have it there, but I'm asking you to take the conscious step to actually use it regularly, this space, for creative activities. I know Hannah has used it as a place to write, as a place to draw. And I think those are great uses for the space. So you can make it as big as you want, like Carol was saying, the whole house, and go to different stations. Ooh, you could have stations in different rooms. And then go to one station for each day of the week or something like that. You never know. I mean, just let your imagination go wild. We're doing great. Okay. Let's see, are there any other? Okay. Oh, 4 more messages. Sorry, hang on.
Okay.
Oh, fruits, good. The power of life and death are on the tongue. Wow. That's a cool thing to say. Bye, Shannon. So what I'd like you to do, because I'm getting down to the end of my stuff here, don't forget to jot down some favorite ideas that you've gotten from the conversation here, or from the resource booklet, or from your own explorations into books and other things that tell you about how to use sacred space. It's as huge as the almost 8 billion people on the planet. I'm serious. And I really think that it's a good idea to try out some different designs on a sheet of paper, for instance. That's one way of expressing the space into the real world, and then finding the objects to put in that space, because going to thrift stores and stuff is like really fun anyway. And maybe try out getting your new space done by this time next month. What do you think? I know you guys are starting out in new spaces, some of you. So we also have to make sure that we follow through. And a great way to do that is to become a member of Guidely Community if you aren't already, and join my group. Because I post there, what? I don't know, Hannah, do I post there like every, I don't know, a few days or something?
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
pretty
It's so
active.
cool to see. Yeah, it's so cool to see your new, your new altars with the new moon. And there's things that pop in there. I know I love to share things from my altar or when my space changes.
Right.
So yeah, I would love to see some things from y'all in there. Joanne, this has been incredible. It's been such a wonderful interactive workshop. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that was the intention, is that we all learn from each other and apply it as it works for our intuition in our own space. So thanks everybody for coming, all of you. And I expect to hear more one way or the other about sacred space. I would love to have more people participating in the group on Guidely who belong to Guidely. So that would be really fun.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you
So
all
I,
for
yeah,
joining us today, Joanne. It has been such a wonderful experience to hear from you. Really looking forward to connecting with everybody in the Sacred Space Creatives group. If anyone has any questions about Guidely Community, please reach out to me, and we'll see you in there.
Cute dog, Hannah.
What's oh
Thank
yeah, my
you.
There's a sacred space right there.
that's right. That's right. Anyway, thank you all for coming. It was just about a perfect size group for what I wanted to do, to give people a chance to talk and still stay within some kind of reasonable time limit. So I'm really happy with it. Thank you very much, Hannah, for helping me out, supporting me technically in this workshop.
Absolutely.
And I'll see you in the group.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.